Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this new webinar by Solarplaza. Today we'll be talking about the challenges and opportunities for renewables in the Romanian electricity market. A warm welcome from me. I'm Nicola from Solarplaza, also Tom van der Linden joining, supporting us here. And today our very special guest is Mr. Laurențiu, who is president of AFEER, Romania. For those that are not familiar with AFEER, AFEER is the Romanian Association of Energy Suppliers. So we can see you there. Welcome, Laurențiu. We have agenda. It's quite simple today. I'll just give a short introduction, also about Solarplaza, what we're doing in Romania, where we're hosting this webinar today, and then I'll leave the stage to Laurențiu. As always, we do have a Q&A session, so feel free to send in your questions. I'll tell you right away how we do that. For those that are tuning in for the first time and are familiar with Solarplaza, well, we've organized quite a few events around the globe now since 2004 with a strong focus on solar, but not only solar, starting also from this year, so some new topics. Also publishing out content and resources in the solar industry and solar market across various markets worldwide. Starting last year, we also launched a new business unit. It's called Solarplaza Consultancy. It's especially interesting for those of you that are looking to expand their portfolio of assets or matchmaking opportunities into new markets, into new countries. So feel free also to get in touch with me or directly with our website, Solarplaza Consultancy, should you have any questions about this. And let me tell you more what we're organizing very soon. On April 14th, we are hosting the Solarplaza Summit Romania first edition conference, which, I mean, quite frankly, for us, it's very interesting. Many of you that are tuning in here are already active in the Romanian market or are prospecting or looking into it, know it's quite attractive for many local international players. So we're hosting one pre-conference networking dinner and one full conference day where you'll get all the knowledge and all the networking branded by Solarplaza that you need to participate. And AFEER is partnering up. We're partnered together for this initiative, so we're bringing even better content. And since we've partnered up, we're also offering a 20% discount to those of you that want to register with the following code. I will show it again at the end of the webinar, so make sure to make use of it and enjoy this offer we have for you during the webinar. Practical notes, then I'll leave the word to Laurențiu. So regarding questions, yes, feel free to send them in. We have the question box. We'll address them at the end during the Q&A session. If you have any technical problems, also use the question box. Tom, my colleague Tom, is here also. I'm all there, so we'll try to help you out. And since many of you ask, yes, we will share the slides and the full recordings. Just give us usually 1 or 2 days and you'll find them directly in your inbox. And let me introduce the guest today, Laurențiu, as I mentioned, AFEER president since last year. Definitely lots of experience both in the private and public sector, in the field of energy and in the field of renewables. So at this point, Laurențiu, what I'll do is I will leave the stage to you. I'll turn off my camera. We'll have you on. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the presentation. Send in your questions. We'll ask them to Laurențiu. We'll take them in, and then we'll quickly remind you of Solarplaza Summit Romania. Laurențiu, the stage is yours, and let's see if you can hear us and if you can start with it.
Hello, hi Nicola. Thank you for the invitation. Hello, dear guest. I will start my presentation about challenge opportunity for renewable in the Romanian electricity market. Obviously, as we are speaking about Solarplaza, I will focus on solar industry. Let's start with a small. Sorry, I think I put more. Yeah. Then let's start with a small agenda for today. we will speak about AFEER. We will speak about a general overview about Romania, about electricity market, about solar overview, existing solar power plant, the challenge of existing solar power plant and opportunities, and also for future investment. For the beginning, I will say a few words about AFEER. AFEER, it's the Romanian Energy Suppliers Association. It's a professional independent association founded in 2006. We can see that it's a voice of Romanian energy supplier. The goal of the association is the improvement of market rules to define and support common member position in front of authorities. We are active in power from 2006. Now we have 34 members. Our members' portfolio is covering 90% of Romanian electricity consumption. And on gas, we are active from 2020. Now we have 12 members, and it's covering around 60% of Romanian natural gas consumption. A few words about Romania, because I don't know from where do you participate. I think it's important to have a general geographical overview. I have some data taken from Wiki here. The capital is Bucharest. We are in the southeast part of Europe. We are speaking Romanian. Bună ziua. That means hello. Time zone, it's CET time +1. Population, last official number of population was 90.3 million. As surface, we have 238,000 square kilometer. We are EU member since January 2007, and GDP around 230 billion euro in 2020, last official GDP announced. Small overview about electricity in Romania. In 2020 is the last official data I got from ANRE. We produce 53.7 terawatt hour with an installed capacity of more than 18 gigawatt. You will find the presentation, and you can see all details on each type of electricity production. Then from this 18.5 gigawatt, we have as percentage 29% it's covered by hydro production, 20 nuclear, 13 wind, 1.5 it's solar, 16 coal, and 18% gas. As you see, one of the Romanian specificity, it's a quite important percent of hydro. Hydro, it's both runoff river and lake with accumulation. And due to this high percentage of hydro, we have quite good, let's say, balancing energy provider. As consumption in 2020, we had 53 almost 0.6 terawatt hour. The structure of consumption is 25% residential households and 65% industrial. Okay, you will ask me why it's not 100%, because 65 plus 25 means 90. The rest are other consumption, like for example, grid losses. As traded volume in 2020, we had 89 tera. As you see, it's not so much higher than the consumption. That means for the wholesale market, it's semi-liquid. Okay, let's speak. Let's speak about Romanian electricity market. Our electricity market is 100% liberalized. It includes the centralized market of bilateral contracts forward, day-ahead, intraday market, balancing market, and green certificate market. Pay attention when I say green certificate market. It's not EU ETS. It's a subsidized scheme for renewable, which was introduced, and it's with green certificate, Romanian green certificate. The volume of wholesale market in 2020 was almost 90 terawatt-hour. As participants, everywhere we have producers, suppliers, traders, consumer. We have one TSO, which is independent, being listed of Bucharest Stock Exchange, and this TSO is also the operator of the balancing market. We have 6 DSOs. We have one market operator. His name is Opcom, and now it's one more in licensing process. And we have many markets, I will say, then for electricity. We have intraday market, day-ahead market, which is coupled from 2014 in 4 MC couple with Hungary, Czech, and Slovakia. We have forward markets. Opcom has 7 power forward markets, from which 3 are semi-liquid, means OTC platform, PCCBLE and PCCBNC. The rest, the 4 rest is PCCB, PC, PMC, PSU, and PCTL. There are almost no deals there. If you want, let's say a few words about each of it, just to be more clear. OTC platform, it's like any OTC screen you can find everywhere in Europe. PCCBLE, it's a kind of tender platform. Then it's an initiator who publish tenders, and in this tender it's published 5 days, and after 5 days they are collecting bids on this tender. PCCBNC, it's similar with OTC platform. The only difference is that on OTC you have eligibility list. Here you are obliged to trade with any counterpart. Okay, few words about Romania General Solar Overview. In 2008, it was launched a scheme for subsidy for renewable investment. The name is Law 220, which in 2011 this support scheme was approved by European Commission. The scheme is valid up to 15 years from the beginning. It's a green certificate scheme. The result was that in 2008-2012 we have a boom of renewable, meaning it was invested very fast, 1.5 gig in solar and 3,000 megawatt in wind. What happens after? In 2012, the new energy law was issued, and this energy law, one of the main impact was ban of bilateral contracts, except renewable lower with installed power lower than 3 megawatt. This ban of bilateral contracts make impossible signing of PPAs, and because of that, also investment was much harder to be done. By the way, this ban of bilateral was partially deleted in 2020 for new units, and end of last year it was cancelled, the ban of bilateral. That's why If you remember, a few minutes ago, I told you that now they are in licensing process one more market operator. In 2013, it was introduced a deferral from issuance of a number of green certificate for release to each technology, and due to that, the new investment stopped. In 2014, new government ordinance exempt from green certificate scheme some energy intensive consumer. Then those was allowed that cover his green certificate obligation only 15%. On the right, you can see the photovoltaic power potential of Romania. Okay, let's speak about this green certificate scheme. The green certificate scheme, as I told you, was introduced in 2011 when the European Commission approved the support scheme for renewable proposed by Romanian government. On this time for solar, the solar power plant get up to 6 green certificate per megawatt hour. Why up to 6? Because it was 6 for new power plant, for old one, or let's say second-hand power plant, this number of green certificate was drastically reduced. Together with this issuance of 6 green certificate per megawatt hour, it was introduced a mandatory quota for suppliers that they should cover percent of their consumption portfolio with green certificate. The green certificate price from the beginning, they had a floor and a cap. The floor was 27 euros, the cap was 55 euro. Obviously, in RON, the Romanian currency, on the exchange rate. In the beginning, in 2011, the green certificate validity was 16 months. In 2013, it was issued a government ordinance number 57, which based on, let's say, a huge interest on renewable investment, the government was quite scared about, and that's why they issued this government ordinance to somehow temperate the investment speed. What was the result? The result was that nobody invested anymore. Then, according with this government ordinance, the green certificate validity was reduced from 16 to 12 months, and a number of green certificate was deferred from issuance. For example, for solar, 2 green certificate which shall be issued from July 13 till March 2017 will be issued from April 2017 pro rata until December 2020. As I mentioned, this killed investment. In April 2017, a new government ordinance was issued, Government Ordinance 24, which change, let's say, on positive way, change some of the previous GO, meaning the green certificate validity was prolonged until March 2032. Like a parenthesis, I have to mention that before 2017, due to very long scheme for green certificate, a lot of green certificate, millions of green certificate was lost due to the long scheme and very limited validity. Okay, then let's go back on GO24. It was also a deferral from issuance of a number of two green certificates from which shall be issued from April 2017 till December 2020, will be issued from January 2021 till December 2030. It established also a maximum impact in end consumer invoice, which now it's still is still applicable, and now it's 14.5 euro per megawatt hour in the end consumer bill. And what is very important, it established obligation of to acquire all issued green certificate until December 2031. This was the first time when the investor was assured that all these issued green certificate, which is a subsidized scheme, will be sooner or later bought. Let's speaking about existing solar power plant. This year in January we had 1,394 megawatt installed in 630 units, and there are 573 producers. You can see here what is it's only one unit above 50 megawatt, 4 units between 20 and 50 megawatt, and 50 units between 5 and 20 megawatts. The rest are below 50. In January, we had the existing grid connection contract for almost 2,400 megawatts, and meaning then almost 1,000 of new investment already got grid connection contract. You can see on the right side the geographical distribution. It is, let's say, interesting, because if you remember 2 slides before, that's the power potential. Then everybody was expected this solar power plant to be more on south of Romania, but if you can see here, they are quite equally distributed in also in central and northwest part of Romania. Let's speak about existing renewable challenges and opportunity in Romanian electricity market. The main challenges are still selling of green certificate, are the balancing, and change of regulation. And the obviously still have this green certificate subsidized scheme, when now they are sure that the green certificate will be sold sometime. New renewable challenges in Romanian electricity market. It should be mentioned here that from 2019 it's a land law which forbid to erect renewable on land who is good for agriculture, and the land status transformation is very difficult. It's quite costly and very time consuming. Upon my information, it can take 3 to 5 years only to take out the land from agriculture to non-agricultural land in order to be able to build a solar power plant there. There are a limit of grid connection approval on zones. The limitation is mainly because of the TSO. We will speak later about that. It's a difficulty to obtain a building permit. It needs approval from mining authorities, and it's a lot of time consuming. Upon my information, it can take up to 10 months for that. Other challenge is establishing a PPA. Due to ban of bilateral, which was almost 10 years, now there's huge resilience for establishing a physical PPA. Moreover, due to last period of market price volatility, hedging possibility are quite limited, and that's why it's very, very hard to find a partner, let's say, interest in having a PPA. Other challenge is balancing. We have our balancing market, it's on 15 minutes imbalance calculation, and the pricing for imbalances are very wide, let's say from minus 300 up to 5,500 RON per megawatt hour. And obviously, one of the challenges is financing. I mentioned here limited grid connection approval. That's the map which was published by Transelectrica with the limit of grid connection approval, what they have available up to 2025. If you remember a few slides above, the biggest potential on solar was this part, then the south part of Romania. And if you are looking here, then for zone B, A, B, C, D, that means T1, there are 4,400 megawatt grid connection availability. But this zone, mainly A zone, it's very, very important for wind. Then I will for solar, I will not consider this 4.4 gigawatt as available for solar, because part of it will go for wind investment. That I will say that 2.5 gig will be maximum for solar. Opportunities. Let's speak also about the good things. Then opportunities are decreasing of equipment costs. Also, very good opportunity is local know-how. Because of this boom of renewable, there are a lot of skilled local labor force still available, which is a huge added value for Romania. Also, one opportunity is existing old projects. I will say that I will quote from some guy from Monson who present that now in Romania it's in different development phases almost 38,000 megawatt renewable, and from this renewable, let's say half could be considered to be for solar. Okay, 38,000. For sure, there will be no investment, but I think it's very easy to count on, let's say, up to 10,000 megawatt on that. Also, other opportunity are government support due to high targets the government took. We have the national plan in field of energy and climate change, which establish just in solar to have in 2022 additional almost 1,000 megawatt. Obviously, this will not be possible. Still, I expect to have few hundreds of megawatt new solar power plant. Other target for 25, it's one additional gigawatt in solar power plant. Until 2027, 500 megawatts more, and until 2030, 1,133 megawatts more. That means 3.5 gigawatt total. Also, we have the European Fit for 55 package, which, according with that, Romanian government target additional 6,000 megawatt in solar power plant until 2030. Other opportunity are government fund for renewable industry. We have a national recovery and resilience plan with a total budget for energy 1.6 billion euro. Only for renewable, we have 460 million with target 950 megawatt with some limit per each project, meaning 15 million or 25 megawatt for wind or 40 megawatt for solar. Also limitation per installed megawatt for solar, it's 425,000 euro per installed megawatt. And with obligation to that the park to be erected until June 2024. The expected auction start end of March, now in few days, but and will take at least 1 month. More details, I think you will get on 14th of April on Solarplaza conference when they are invited officialities and representative of Energy Ministry, who is handling this PNRR, and also a regulatory body. Also, as fund, we have the modernization fund, which allocate over 15 billion euro until December 2030, which this modernization fund is also targeting solar. And I think that's my last slide now. Everyone is expecting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Take over. Well, I think first of all, this is very insightful, and as you correctly pointed out, so also for those that are listening to us, Laurent will also be present at the Solarplaza Summit Romania on April 14th, and indeed we will also have the state secretary from the Ministry of Energy and the Vice President of ANRIS. So we will also touch on the regulatory aspect. Now, given that now is the time for Q&A, I will begin with the questions. Just a reminder, feel free to send in more of your questions in the Q&A chat. Lorenzo, so I would say let's start. Somebody from the audience is indeed also thanking you for your presentation here. And the first question is very interesting because it actually regards battery storage systems, and there's a lot of buzz, especially in the last years, about it. So, Lorenzo, specifically, what role do you see for those battery storage systems in the Romanian market? And do you see, or do you think, or perhaps there will be any kind of incentives for storage powered, or I would say storage oriented projects in the next years?
Upon my knowledge, now we already have 1 megawatt installed in battery storage in Romania. Okay, that's only for testing, for fishing opportunities, I would say. In that stage, I don't expect too much interest from the state, but taking in consideration what was announced, this Fit for 55, that 6 gig of renewable, I think it will be mandatory for all state authority to focus on battery storage, because despite we have a good ratio of hydro, there are periods when this hydro it's not enough. If for a dry year, for example, this hydro is not enough to cover balancing for such big portfolio of renewable. Already there are some discussion, and if I'm not wrong, there will be some changes in regulation. They already changed the balancing market rule in order to permit battery storage. This was changed last year, and it is expected to have some also kind of subsidy for those. But as Romania specific, in Romania we are subsidizing only when we need something. It's not a long strategic approach from the government side. Oops, I hope nobody from the government is here.
No, not currently. But there will be at the conference, so we can complain now. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely in the conference it should be asked. I expect to have to catch interest of the government for some let's say parallel investment, the renewable plus battery, or for example on gas. Okay, it's not a topic here, but I know for gas power plant there somehow they put obligation this gas power plant to go also on hydrogen, to be H2 ready. And as I think that we can catch their interest for this parallel investment, solar battery or wind battery. Yeah, that's it.
Sure, absolutely. And I see another question here. I think, well, this is I would say the answer can be very long, so maybe we can touch just briefly on it, because it actually it's related to the contract for difference auction scheme that we're seeing now in Romania. This is also a topic we're going to touch upon. So for those that want to join us, I'll just remind you. But Laurent, your question is if you could perhaps give us a small introduction. I know you touched upon it briefly before. You mentioned it has been introduced, but if you could just refresh on how is it working right now in Romania, what can we expect? We know this is being, of course, also developed with EBRD. EBRD is also attending the event, so they will share more about it, but perhaps you can also tell some words about it right now.
Yeah, for the moment we don't have contract for difference. I know they are planned for introducing such CFD. For me, it's not clear now for which kind of electricity producer they will introduce. For sure, they will be not for everybody. Then that's my advice is to check with the authority in April on the conference. It's still foggy now. They want to introduce, but it's not clear on which industry and what is the plan, meaning volume.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see one more question actually that we have. I think this is very pertinent to a lot of European markets now, because it actually is about the windfall tax that we have on renewable energy generation. That, to my knowledge, it's not applied just in Romania, but it's definitely a big topic there. Could you quickly, mention what's up with that, and how does this actually affect also international companies that are looking into the Romanian market? Does this really eat out their margins? Does it complicate all the financial models? And how is this tax really impacting at the moment developers?
Then about this windfall tax, then we had two subsidy scheme for end consumer. One was for the winter period. It was issued in October, and it's applicable for the period November 2021 till March 2022. It was a lot of noise about that. This scheme was introduced because of a huge increase of electricity price on wholesale market, and this is impacting very much the consumer bill. According with this, I will not put too much details on supply bill, but one of the topic on this government ordinance was this clawback mechanism, meaning extra taxation of 80% of the sales of producers who sells above 450 RON per megawatt hour, meaning what you sell above this price, about 450, it's around 90 euro. Then if you are selling instead of 90, you are selling 100 euro, 80% of this 10 euro, this extra, you have to pay tax. In theory, this was only for winter period and for 5 months. Then there are many investors who are thinking this is not affecting future investment, because this scheme will stop in March this year. And in theory, an investor who has a PPA, physical PPA, should anyway has the price below 450. Then until let's say until summer of 2021, prices was below 450. Then in theory should be no problem. Why it was very affected? Because of the ban of bilateral, which was present till end of last year. Many of renewables had financial PPAs. And as you know, these financial PPAs, you have to close position on spot. Then they are selling on spot, and they are selling with spot price. Spot prices was sky high, and artificially they have to pay this tax. Okay, that was for this winter, which will end 1 week. Let's say in few days. What is bad is that today it was issued a new subsidized scheme for end customer for the period April 2022 till March 2023, and one of the topic of this new scheme is prolongation of this clawback mechanism. The same 80% of the sales above 450 RON per megawatt hour, but this time they consider let's say production cost, except some production cost you can deduct from it. That's it. Then
absolutely. Maybe if we can, we'll close here with one last question. I think it's very interesting because, of course, it's not maybe so directly related to solar, but it's actually one of the attendees is asking us about the natural gas reserves in the Black Sea. I mean, we all know that there's a huge question mark to the whole energy diversification, especially when it comes to gas, especially in Eastern Europe right now. And Lorenzo, do you see that perhaps that these reserves in the Black Sea are enough to supply Romania and all the surrounding region, or do you see that other alternatives, perhaps green hydrogen or biogas that are out there that are available, will be required to tap in that market need?
Yeah, Nicola, I didn't hear very well because it's like a kind of echo I hear, but I suppose we are speaking about new gas sources.
Yeah, exactly. It's to simplify it. It's one of our attendees asking if the natural gas reserves that we see in the Black Sea are enough to supply Romania and the neighboring region with gas, or do we have to look at other alternatives, perhaps green hydrogen or biogas? What's your take on that?
Despite it's not the topic of this conference, I'm very happy that it's let's say we are discussing also other topics. As you know, Romania it's one of the European country who is not so short in gas. Then our gas need, import gas need, it's during winter somewhere around 20%. Then it's not so, we are quite, we have quite a big volume on gas onshore, then gas production already, and we are almost independent, I will say. 20% of gas consumption, it's not so big, and in let's say in a crisis situation, it could be taken from let's say cutting some consumption. More than that, this offshore gas field, which was in Black Sea, will start to produce. Once this will produce, I expect Romania to become even gas exporter. Okay, it's not enough to, let's say, to cover entire Balkan area for sure, but still it's enough for Romanian consumption, even developing of gas consumption in Romania, it will cover.
Absolutely. And Laurențiu, I would say we quickly indeed change a bit topic, but to wrap it up, staying in the field of solar, this is a very nice question. It actually relates to the previous PPA ban and why it has been deleted after. Could you perhaps elaborate on why this decision has been taken by the Romanian government, and why did they decide to overthrow it, and as of now they totally liberalize the market for those kind of agreements?
Yeah, the initial ban in 2012 was taken by the parliament, not by the government. It was not introduced by a government ordinance, it was introduced by the energy law issued by the parliament, and this was in a market environment when Hydroelectrica in that time had contracts with a few companies who bought from them a lot of electricity. Let's say majority of Hydroelectrica production was sold to some companies, and in order to avoid such approach in the future, the parliament decision was to push all electricity, all power transaction to be pushed on transparent centralized market. Let's say this pushing, it's simply destroying bilateral negotiated contract. And if we don't have bilateral negotiated contract, it's impossible to establish a PPA. During time, it was a lot of discussion, and even OPCOM, they tried to develop a market for PPA. It's one of these four markets which is which there are no deal on it, because as you know, for PPA it's impossible to have a kind of tender, because you need to be the partner to be bankable and a lot of other things. What happened now? Finally, the government was aware that due to this ban, there were no investment anymore in electricity production in Romania, and that's why they changed the opinion, and they tried to open PPA. As I told you in my presentation, there was in two steps. One, the first step, one was in 2020, when they delete this ban of bilateral for new investment, then it was special for PPA. And the second step was end of 2021 when it was deleted for all.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Archie. I think it was important to also send. So later we'll touch on these topics. Well, I would say we have a lot of questions. Sometimes I'm in this difficult situation to have to put, how can I say, politely stop. But I think we also offer this opportunity to join us live so that you can also ask the experts. The Rich is also going to be there and engage and really gain more insights about the market and what's going on in Romania, what are the future prospects there. With that said, I just want to then remind you that since we teamed up with AFEER for this conference, you can register with the following discount code. We're making this offer available for you. Short reminder, since I know this comes up often, we will share, once again, I'm telling you this, the presentation slides and the recordings via email. Please give us 1 or 2 days for that. Laurentiu, at this point, I would like to also thank you for your insights, for your presentation. We will see each other and have you as our guest speaker also in a few weeks in Bucharest. So once again, allow me to thank you also for taking in the questions, which I think were very insightful. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Also, thanks Tom from supporting us, the Solarplaza team, to make sure this webinar can happen. And we hope to see you soon in Bucharest on April the 13th for Solarplaza Summit Romania. Then, Laurentiu, once again, thank you. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you as well, and see you on 14th next month.